Gonzaga coach Steve Turner. Steve, off of Alhambra, it's been a long week. And off of, is it your fourth WCAC title?
This is my fourth.
Your fourth since you've been
title.
here. I want to start, with you kind of coming up in the DMV. You're a DMV guy. What did basketball look like in the DMV when you were growing up? The landscape of it, the publics versus privates, that kind of thing.
Probably a lot more balanced.
Okay.
You had public schools when I was in high school, certainly playing, and even before me, that would smack some of the private schools who are now, winning a lot of the times. You had more kids who were going to probably were in more public schools than in the private schools, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
DeMatha was always the flavor of the month.
Right.
Carroll, back in the day, was big time. But you had a lot of public schools who could match them and play with them on any given night.
And you played at?
I played at Blair High School.
Okay.
I graduated at Blair in '89.
What did your break into the coaching scene kind of look like? Because I looked through the biography they have for you on the Gonzaga site. It looked like, other than a middle school job, your first head coaching job in your career was when you took over here.
First varsity head coaching
right.
job. So, I coached AAU even when I was in high school.
Okay.
Because I was coaching my younger brother and sister, and helping at the time Rob Jackson, who ran the original Silver Spring Blue Devils that ended up becoming the DC Blue Devils that Kevin Durant and Ward Hibbert and those guys played for, Tyrone Lawson.
Right.
So I've always been around the game. I've always been around coaching. I grew up at the Silver Spring Boys and Girls Club. My every waking afternoon and evening, as soon as I got out of school, if I wasn't in a practice or playing on one of my club teams, I was spending time at the Boys and Girls Club, and a lot of times it was helping younger kids growing up and coaching like intramural basketball. And then moved on to college and playing, and then I really got into it. And that's when I think I saw that coaching could be in my background. My background was communications. My internship that I had to do my last semester at school, my last year at school, I ended up helping run the Art Leary basketball camp at Southern Connecticut State University. And then that year, I also, wasn't my title, it was because I was still in school, but I was almost like a grad assistant to the women's program. And I did a lot of video stuff for both teams and helped them practices. And then when I got back, I jumped right back into AAU hard. And I was afforded an opportunity. Josh Pratt, who used to be Mike Glick's top assistant at Pilati, had to go back to school to get his master's, and Glick had a JV job, head job open up, and a couple of the guys that I was coaching to the Blue Devils were at the school, and the dad reached out to me, Rick Smith, and said, "Hey, do you think you want to coach? You might want to talk with Mike." I said, "Hey, if he's got a job, I'd be more than happy to sit down with him." And I ended up becoming his head JV coach and assisted him on the varsity. And I did that for a year. During that year, getting ready to have my first child. So employment was important. Pilati afforded me the opportunity because there were so many teachers out all the time. I was literally, for the year, almost a full-time sub.
Yeah.
I was there every day, almost subbing for that year. Glick reached out to the school and said, "Hey, why don't we create this position? We see the need. He's been here almost every day of the year." And they wouldn't do it. Lo and behold, Keith Stevens and I are talking.
Keith Stevens,
who runs Team Takeover, was at the Newport School.
Okay.
And he's like, "Hey, why don't you come talk with Cheney?"
Where's that?
It's defunct now. It's no longer in existence, but it was in Kensington, Maryland. Okay. And that's where you had guys like DeMar Johnson, Eric Wells, Rodney White, who was drafted back then from Charlotte to the Denver Nuggets. Like, we had a heck of a team. So that next year, I went and worked at Newport, and they hired me full time. And I feel like I did almost every job imaginable up there. They made it work to have a full-time job. I ran the bookstore. I did study hall. I taught a couple classes of middle school algebra.
So it was a grind.
It was a grind, but it was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. And we had a good staff up there. I mean, the women's coach at the time is now the head coach of Syracuse for Syracuse's women, Quentin Hillsman. And we were all, we worked under the head coach for the boys was Chris Cheney.
Okay.
So did that for a year, but all the while still had my eye at this time now, like, I want to coach in the WCAC.
You knew that?
I knew that at that point. I was 2 years out of college, and I knew at that point I wanted to do it. And I had a couple kids who were here at the time who were also in that group that I had with the Blue Devils.
Right.
A kid, Pat Mitchell, who played at JMU, and Tommy McCluskey. And Pat always said, like, you belong to Gonzaga, you should come to Gonzaga. Newport played an independent schedule.
Okay.
So most nights of the WCAC, we weren't playing. So those nights when we were done practice, I'm riding all over the city watching WCAC games because I had so many kids playing in the conference.
Had you had exposure to WCAC or Gonzaga before that, really?
I took my SATs here.
That's about it?
And just knowing about it, because in middle school, I almost went to St. John's when they still had the middle school.
Okay.
I got accepted, but I decided to stay in public schools.
Okay.
So I could have ended up being in the league, but I chose to stay in public schools.
That kind of leads me into my next question, that you had the fortune, and you certainly put in the work to get to somewhere like this. You had the fortune, though, of coming up once you got here under, a legendary coach in Dick Meyer, who had built up this program over the 3 decades plus that he was here.
Yeah.
What was that like, kind of then? Take me to that point where you're filling in his shoes, right? You're stepping into your first varsity head coaching job. You're taking over for a guy who's built this program up to a national power.
It was surreal, I guess, to say the least. Here it is. Coach Meyer's been here 29 years, and I'm the one that they're naming his successor. And I think there were a lot of people that doubted it, but there certainly was a group of people who believed in me, and thank God I was afforded an opportunity to allow myself to grow the program into what I wanted it to be.
Right.
I mean, certainly there's a lot that I still have kept in terms of traditions from Coach because he was so good at what he did, and there's a lot that he taught me. And then I just tried my best to mesh the things that I felt like he made great in his 29 years with the things that I thought could take us to another level.
And that kind of leads into the question of, basketball has changed the landscape of it, the AAU, everything that goes with it, the calendar. Everything's changed so much since Coach Myers was here. But you said you kind of have taken that, some of the pieces of what he did and mixed it with your own to make this program your own.
I think in high school basketball, I think at all levels of basketball, you have to be ready to change with the times.
Right. But there's obviously still things that are applicable from when Coach was here.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Right. Some things don't change.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. I mean, there's a lot that doesn't change. I mean, I think the things that don't change are the values you put in your program, the characters and characteristics of the kids that you bring into your program. I think what makes us so unique is our ability to be the best of both worlds. And sometimes the average person would say that that's a hindrance because there's certain kids I can't get into the school.
Yeah.
I mean, academically, we're one of the top in the country. And so you've got to be on point to be able to be here and handle the workload. And there's kids who I know on other rosters that would have loved to have been here that we didn't get in, or that we didn't even chase after because it wasn't going to be the right fit. So I think the things that I would say we really have kept as a tradition of Coach Myers is being able to find kids, one, who can handle the workload here and who are willing to work on the court. Because most nights we're not coming into the games that we play in our league with the same talent pool. So those things that don't change, characteristics of kids, the quality of kid that you bring in who can handle the academic workload here first and foremost. Like I always say that you're not totally choosing Gonzaga for basketball.
Right. And I had one of my questions here was not next, but it's unique. Where I come from in Pennsylvania, the league I played in, things like that, you can't really recruit. And, you can't, it's against the rules of the PIAA or whatever it may be. You guys are in a unique situation here where you can, and you have a hotbed of talent in the DMV wanting to come to these schools. a program like this that you've built up and Coach Myers has built up, and facilities and the schedule you play and the academics and things, it seems like it's a school that would sell itself.
It does. It really does. I mean, I think you still have to be on top of those kids because some of the top talent in the city, it's not just the guys from the WCAC recruiting these guys. You got guys in the IAC and the MAC, and I know some of the schools say they don't recruit. Whatever with that. Because those kids, the kids and the families are trying to find what's the best fit for their child. And I get it. But for us to be able to have success, you got to be able to find some of those top tier guys. But I think more importantly, for us, we got to find the diamonds in the rough. And I think we've done a fairly good job of doing that because it's helped our success. Being able to have kids who buy into wanting to grow as players and families who buy into understanding what the whole of our place is, it does sell itself. I mean, every year we're going to have kids who just want to come here. And if you can blend that mix with the kids that you also recruit, it's been, I think, the formula for our success.
Is this almost in a way, with the national schedule, how long you guys play, the recruiting that goes into it, things like that, is this almost like having a small college job?
Oh, it's no doubt. I mean, I always say I got a college job on the high school level. Yeah. And I think what it has created, and you see it when you see the kids from our league go to the next level, they're so prepared. Yeah. I mean, like today, I'm watching the ACC tournament. You got Chris Likes and Prentice Hub, who both is, one's a freshman, one's a sophomore, but have both walking in from day one have played major minutes. I mean, I don't think Prentice came off the court today. Chris Likes is playing almost 40 minutes a game, and so because of how our league is set up and how our league prepares these kids to be able to walk into that next situation and be more than ready.
Right. I want to switch gears to this year, fourth WCAC Championship. Where does this run, and you guys have gone to the title game a bunch of times, where does this run to the title and everything that came with it throughout the season rank in among those other three?
They're all so different.
Yeah.
08, it's your first one.
Right.
That's probably the baby.
Right.
Because as a coach, it's something you dream for. That's not just something your players are dreaming for. You as a head coach, you want to be able to say, I want a WCAC championship. Yeah. And then with that one, what makes it so special is it was one of the last times there was a city title game. And shame on DC for getting rid of that game.
So for those who don't know, what's the difference then between that and the DCSAA?
So the DCSAA is just for schools who are in the District of Columbia.
Okay.
The old city title, which was one of the best games ever played in this city for years, was the Washington Catholic champion versus the DC public champion.
Okay.
And it was a one-game deal. It wasn't a tournament. Now the DCSSA is set up as a tournament for the District of Columbia.
Okay. But so getting back to this, so then you said they're all different.
So that's like your baby. That's the first one. Oh wait. Then in 15, you do something that's pretty special, and it's because you weren't the favorite. I mean, you were clearly, most people didn't think you were going to get there, and it'd take a while to tell the story of it, but that one game against the Matha, throughout the game, if I walked you through it and talked to you through our whole season that year, I was able to there were so many things that happened in that game that was a culmination of that season with that team and those particular players that you'd be amazed and be like, wow, if I really were able to take the time to sit down through it. So that was different because it was you were the hunter. Mm-hmm. You were chasing it, and you found a way when people had you written off to get it. In 17, you walk in the door and you feel like this is the year we're going to do it. And that team wins the Triple Crown. They win the WCAC, they win the DC States for the first time, and they go and win Al Harbor. Mm-hmm. So that's unique and special in its own way. And then this year, to have all the injuries and different things that were going on throughout our season, You know, losing some. I mean, you lose your first game of the year to a new coach, program you probably hadn't lost to in a while. Come back and win a big one by 40, then come back and lose a couple more, and things are going on that people just don't know about. And
it took you a while to find your stride this year.
You did. We did. And once we got it going, what made that special is a run off 17 out of 18 to win it, and certainly weren't the favorite or probably even thought about in the top 3 or 4.
My first game here this year, I was at that Paul VI game in early January, and you and I talked about this at Alhambra. You know, what even I had forgotten, and I feel like a lot of people that would look at the score don't even know is Gonzaga lost by 25 at home to Paul VI. But you reminded me, midway through that third quarter, you yanked your starters and had them sitting on the bench the rest of the game, and it was just kind of a moment where it was like, hey, soak this in, take a look at this, and then you go and win, 18 and 19 games, and go and win your 4th WCAC crown. What changed there, and what does it say about the maturity of your players that a moment like that sunk in with them?
It says a lot, because there were times where we were trying to search for our leader on the team, who was going to be the guy to be the most vocal and bring everybody together. And I just said to our coaches, they were like, my coaches that night were kind of like, what are you doing? I was like, they need to soak this in. They need to see what they're throwing away if they don't decide to come together. Mm-hmm. And I'll take this loss. This one's mine. But they're going to learn from this. And I'm telling you, when we win this thing at the end of the year, this is going to be one of the biggest reasons why.
Piggybacking off of that, in a league where it's so competitive and you guys are playing, you have the high major players on your team, but it's a grind when you're playing high majors and big environments and you're everyone's Super Bowl going in there. And how much stock do you put into mentally strengthening your kids at this level, not only for this level but for the next level as well?
A lot, because I think this is a tough time. This is a tough 4 years for, I can't say for young ladies because I don't coach young ladies,
right, but
for young men who are trying to become men, mm-hmm, this is really a tough time.
Right.
Some of these kids are going through puberty. Some of these kids are trying to find themselves. They're trying to, I always say we ask these kids to be a little bit of everything at this time. We ask them to be kids. We ask them to be young adults. We ask them to be men. And they're confused.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's always in different realms, whether it be in the classroom, whether it be just in social environments around school or at another school, representing the right way. Then we want them to obey the adults ahead of them and act like kids. So they're asked to be so many different things. So the mental does play a part. We've had guys come in and speak to our guys in different years and talk about those type of issues. We've done some things with just some stuff we've done on computers with analyzing where some of their mental state is in terms of being leaders. Trying to find out who that leader might be that's not really out yet. So I would say it's pretty hard for them. And I feel like it's our job not just to coach them to be good basketball players, it's to coach them to be model citizens in today's world and to society. I like to say that I use basketball as a vehicle for helping grow young men.
Switching over to those players specifically that are on this team, for a guy who's as highly recruited as Terrance is, it seems like in conversations, often, he still flies under the radar. And you and I have had conversations about this. You know what I mean? For the offers that this kid has and the talent that this kid has, and maybe it's because you've done such a great job of collecting this talent around him as well. But why do you think that is, and how crucial is he to this team and to this program while he's in it?
Well, he's not the sexy, as I like to say. He's not the kid that's flying over top of you, dunking on you. He's not the kid making the whirling plays at the rim. He's just as efficient as can be. You can almost write him in the book before the game starts for a double-double. And I think that attests to the fact that he's more than just an athlete. He's very smart. I mean, last quarter, 3.8. He's got a cum over a 3.7.
That's why he's looking at
That's
schools
why he's
like
looking
he
at the
is.
schools that he's looking at.
Yeah.
I think he understands and has been taught and brought up by his parents to understand that, you know what, if you were to become a pro, that's the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
Basketball is an opportunity for a vehicle that's going to get you the best education you can get so that you'll be able to fend for yourself and not depend on us when you become a man.
Right. Another guy, individual question about a player here. From my estimation, you'll know it as well as anyone. I don't think we're sitting here talking about you winning your 4th title if Anwar Gill doesn't have the year that he has and that stretch that he has down the end there. I've spoken to his mom at Alhambra. I spoke to you about kind of the sacrifices that he made. Can you just talk about, I mean, obviously there's a lot of pride in Anwar and how proud you are of him and everything he's done. What has he meant to you in these 4 years here and specifically this year? Because he seemed like the one when it reached that point.
He was certainly, he was always going to be the X factor on this team's success this year.
Yeah.
I think there were certain guys on our team that we knew every day, kind of, all right, we're going to get that from Josh. We know we're going to get that from Terrance. These are the things that Studi's going to bring to the table. This is what Chuck's going to bring to the table. And you can kind of go on so on and so forth. John Marshall's going to be that guy who's just comes in and makes heroic plays and is the energizer bunny. With Anwar, I think what's so special about him winning a championship this year is the injuries that he had occur his past 2 seasons.
Which were broken? Was a broken foot?
It was a fractured foot.
Okay.
To know right now what he's always wanted on the table, scholarship-wise, wasn't there to start the season. A late injury in the summer, we rolled his ankle. Kind of hampered some of that. I don't think if he rolls his ankle, we're probably even having this conversation about the recruiting piece.
Right.
For him to have the ability to shut recruiting out of his equation for the last 3 months and say that all I want to do, coach, is win a championship, it brings me great pride. And the fact that he never, ever veered off. Like, he could have been the kid that said, hey, I'm trying to go for mine. I need to get mine. Everybody else has got theirs.
Right.
And no, it was always, I'm going to do on any given night what our team needs me to do for us to win.
So
and my only goal is I want a championship before I walk out of this door.
Right, so he's under-recruited, and you know that, and
Yes.
he knows that, and everyone in his program knows that, and he's still probably turning down visits and things like that, shutting things down during the season for 3 straight months to chase his championship, completely, as a senior, completely shutting that down.
Completely shutting it down.
Yeah. You don't see that.
You don't see that anymore. Not in today's world.
No.
Not in today's society, where I think a lot of, in our sport anyway, there's a lot of me. And not just from the players, parents, people around these kids. Like, it's a team sport.
Right.
And every single night, it's going to be somebody different. But for a kid to do what he did, which ended up helping us win a championship and giving him an opportunity to earn his dreams and his goals that he set out for this year, I mean, all I can say is hats off to him and how proud I am of him and how special he's made this run. It's because of the stories that we had inside our program, and he's probably the biggest one.
Do you have any doubt that as a result of all this, that he's going to reap that reward that he was looking for?
I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, I've seen it happen too many times. We're in tournament time. You know, he's got some great options on the table.
Right.
But I think more will come as the next week or so goes, and we're going to sit down as a family and talk about the best way for him to navigate this path, and certainly, give love to those who right now are saying they love him.
Yeah.
I think there'll be more to come, and I think at the end of the day, he'll be at a place where he can call home because he has pride in it the same way that he had pride in Gonzaga.
I'm going to read you just a few things here, just a short 1 or 2 word, what comes to mind when you think of these things. Miles student.
Gifted. Great talent. Sky's the limit.
You and I talked about this at Alhambra, the ESPYs.
Probably one of the greatest moments I've ever had as a coach and as a human being, and probably was even more special to be able to share it with the time with my wife being there with him.
A guy that's caught a lot of people's attention this year, Devin Dinkins. A few guys on our staff call him Big shot Dinkins. What are your thoughts on him?
Excited to see what the next 3 years are going to bring for him. He's a leader, understands how to play the game, willing to certainly sacrifice and give of himself for the benefit of his team.
Chris Jenkins was at the WCAC Championship game. You shared a moment with him on the carpet at the ESPYs. What are your memories of that guy?
They keep growing. Our relationship is pretty strong. We talk often. I mean, he's one of the guys that have played for me that I know on my birthday, Father's Day, there's going to be a text or a call. It's one of the special relationships I have with all the players that I've coached.
Does that go hand in hand with Nate? You know, a lot of people know that they're brothers.
And definitely. And I think Nate's is different. People forget Nate left his senior year.
Right.
And our relationship never changed because of it. I mean, I talked to him recently right before he's heading out to his next venture. He checks in and lets me know. And he does it differently. Those guys aren't always together to have those conversations. But Nate's another unique situation because most people would say, oh, that kid left you, and why are you dealing with him? And Nate left for reasons that were for Nate.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Gonzaga or not wanting to be here.
Right.
And I understood it and knew it before he even told me. So I take great pride in having that relationship. When he left, I still checked in on him when he was at Oak Hill.
Yeah.
I continued to check on him and go see him when he was down in Carolina. And we still have a great relationship today.
John Marshall, we talked about him briefly. That kid's gonna be a legend here for a long time.
Oh, no doubt. He will be a 3-time Hall of Famer. He'll get in with his football team. He'll get in with this basketball team at some point, and he certainly will go on as an individual. Special kid, who you got to have on any team to be able to be successful.
Lastly, in this association here, WCAC.
It's the best conference in the country.
Yeah. No doubt about that.
No ifs, ands, buts, not even close.
Coaching in it.
Very rewarding. A special opportunity. Mm-hmm. Proud to be what I would consider an ambassador of the league right now.
Last few questions here. You have your son. Is it Jared?
Yes.
Is a freshman in the program here. Do you have an older son as well?
I do.
Did you coach him?
I did not get to coach him.
Okay, so that's going to be a unique experience here for you coming up in a few years.
Now the younger one I've coached for 2 years on the AAU circuit when he was younger.
Right. But there's nothing like high school. We talked about it. High school's different.
It's different. He's got a bullseye on his back.
Yeah.
You know, even this year not playing for me, he played on our JV. Mm-hmm. He had a bullseye on his back. Some of his, as I've told him, some of his best friends that he had walking in the doors here and going through this year won't be the friends he's friends with when he walks out of the door. He's a lot of kids' litmus test because people feel like if I'm as good or better than him, then I deserve to be on Coach Turner's team. And so as I told him, you've got to be able to navigate some things that are going to be a little tougher in the conversations, and when you move up to varsity, I'm coach. Doing those 2 hours of practice, doing those 2 to whatever hours of the game, but as soon as it's over, I'm dad.
Yeah.
And that's how we carried it when he was a grade schooler playing for me on the AAU circuit. Yeah. And I had a very good staff with the Maryland's finest team that won a national championship. I mean, that's arguably one of the greatest experiences I've ever had, to be able to coach my son's team and to win the AAU national championship with us together. And my older son being there and my wife being there, I mean, it was a special moment. But I know we're going to have some ups and downs the next 3 years. I think we'll be able to handle them well. And I'm excited for his growth. He was arguably, I thought this season, the best player on our JV team. He handled it well. He's going to have a probably even bigger bullseye on his back next year if he has that opportunity to make varsity. And we're just going to work through it every day, and I'm just going to help him grow to be the best him he could be. Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day.
Most recently, you guys were at Alhambra. Sure, it didn't end the way that you guys wanted to, but it's such a grind, you know, throughout the season that's just kind of like the cherry on top being there. It seems like the kids really enjoy themselves. How refreshing was it this year, after 59 years, for an institution like that that's so steeped in tradition and history, that they came together? And for those who don't know, you guys, after losing to PVI, were scheduled to play St. John's for the 5th time this year.
Yeah.
And they kind of got together and switched those games around. You guys ended up playing St. Francis. Did you expect that? What was that like to see?
Well, it was brought up even before our game, and since they were talking about it, I figured it was going to happen. We had kind of talked about it the year before because we had some similar situations. I ended up playing O'Connell again, and I played PVI again. Those were my last 2 games the year before.
Are you guys in favor of that as a team? Like not having to play another WCAC team again?
I think when you get to those numbers, 4 and 5.
4 and 5, yeah.
3, it is what it is.
Right.
You could get that in the league. Mm-hmm. But I think when you get to 4 and 5, it doesn't have the same flavor. I don't care that it is the WCAC.
Right.
It just doesn't. And that event is more than just a basketball event. It's an event to raise money for developing disadvantaged. And it's more about us, all the teams there, giving those who are coming there to fill the seats, put money into this charitable event. I think it's more than whether we're playing a 4th or 5th game against a WCAC team. I think it's about trying to put the best games in place, right, especially at the end. There's only one game that matters. Mm-hmm. It's the 2 teams that got to the championship, the 2 teams that were 2-0.
Yeah.
After that, no one's going to talk about who's in 3rd place or through 8th place. They may talk about some of the players who played in it, yeah, but I think it was the right thing for them to do. And I have to say my hat's off to Joe Carter and his committee for being willing to change a 58-year-old tradition, yeah, and allowing for what I think created a greater environment, yeah, because they were able to have a Bishop Walsh team who's now changed the dynamics of their program, go up against a team that they're calling their rival.
Right, and the gym was packed for that game.
Sold out.
Yeah.
Sold out.
Yeah.
Like, it created an environment that the kids want to be a part of.
I mean, there were 4 fantastic games on that last Saturday. Yeah. I mean, each one of those games was special.
Special in their own way.
Yeah.
And so I think that's more important, yeah, than whether you stay with who should really be playing each other.
Right.
And given that those other 3 games, which really become what they are, they become showcase games.
Yeah.
Make them a showcase game, right, and give the fans what they want.
Lastly, I know it's been such a long season here. It's hard to look forward already. Next year, you're right back in the belly of the beast again. DeMatha has 2 first-teamers coming back. Paul VI has 2 first-teamers coming back, and one of the top-ranked players in the country who didn't even play this year. St. John's is a good young nucleus after the Casey Morcell era. Mm-hmm. There are a few great guards over at O'Connell. Do you even start thinking about next year this early in the season?
Oh, I mean, the conversation comes up. I mean, think about it. You said all those things about them.
Yeah, but
we return 11 to 14.
Exactly.
And I'm excited for the journey of this next team. Mm-hmm. We're going to take some time off. These kids need to decompress, as the coaches do, and we'll get back after it in a few weeks after spring break. Most of them are running to AAU now and already. I mean, shoot, I know I'm leaving from this meeting to take my own child to an AAU workout. But, we're going to let this one soak in. We haven't even had our banquet yet. Yeah. I truly haven't probably had an opportunity to really just enjoy that moment of that night. And over the next couple of weeks, hopefully I'll get together outside of the banquet with my coaching staff and our wives and girlfriends and spend a little time together just soaking it all in and enjoying it. But we'll get back to work. Yeah. Like, there's no doubt. We want to go back and repeat. So right now the trophy sits here. We got to defend it, and we're excited about the opportunity to do it.
All right, well, it was a pleasure watching you this year, Coach.
Man, I appreciate you.
I can't wait to see next year already and admire from afar what you guys have done here and appreciate the time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.